the Avoda of Yom Kippur. We know the Avoda, what we do on Yom Kippur, the mitzvahs hayom. The mitzvahs hayom is tshuva. However, the emphasis is on vidui, confession. We confess, we say vidui. In fact, the Rambam in Hilchas Tshuva really only mentions vidui. And he says, what is vidui? Vidui is to confess that we did an avera and how devastated we are and embarrassed we are, ashamed of what we did. And to be makabel asid and to take upon ourselves in the future and never to do it again. And he ends off with a very interesting phrase which we normally associate with the Leil Seder. And he says, he ends off saying, V'achol hamarba harei mishubach. Somebody who's marba, who increases and says vidui again and again, harei mishubach. And in fact, that's very puzzling. And we, in Yom Kippur, continually, we say vidu over and over again. And why? Once we've confessed, once we've said it, and we acknowledge we did an avera, and we're not going to do it again, why the emphasis on saying it over and over and over again? What is the chiddush? What is the chiddush of saying vidui after we already said it? And to say it again and again and again. There's an interesting levush in Or Chaim who says that we should say vidui at least 10 times, which is what is our minig, to say vidui 10 times. And he says it's keneged the Kohen Gadol that used to say the Shem of Farish, and he used to say vidui 10 times. What does this have to do, our vidui, with what the Kohen Gadol and the Beis HaMikdash? What's the connection between the two? The Ramban in Parshas Vayikra says that a person who does an avera, in addition to the avera, the punishment that he should receive, in addition to that, and even when he's received the punishment, but there's a blemish on his soul. He's tarnished his neshama. He's lowered his neshama. He's muddied it. He dirtied his neshama. Meaning that this person, after the avera, is no longer the same person. He's on a lower madrega. He's on a lower level. And so therefore, the Avoda on Yom Kippur is not only to be chayzer b'tshuva, not only to acknowledge that we've done an avera and we're not going to do it, but the Avoda on Yom Kippur is to be matar ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, to purify ourselves from the blemishes of our avera. When we daven on Yom Kippur, and everyone's a Yom Adin, and everybody's sittering, and they're looking to have a good year, Aksiva, Chsima Tova, Shana Tova Mesuka, that the coming year should be a year of bracha, and that the Rabbi Shalom should forgive us and not punish us, that we shouldn't get punished. Shabbat should forgive us and should bless us and give us brachas. But the overriding avoda of Yom Kippur, the overriding avodah on Yom Kippur is to be matar ourselves, to cleanse it, to purify ourselves, to remove any trace of the avera. Yes, slicha mechila kapora, that the Shem should forgive us. We should be spared from punishments, chas v'sholem. Klal Yisrael should be spared from punishments, chas v'sholem. And we should have bracha, and we should have reward, and chol mili demeitav. But the avoda the focus is on being matar ourselves. The Pasuk says, Ki b'yom hazeh yechaper aleichem letar eschem mikol chatoisechem lifnei Hashem titharu. Before Hashem titharu, be matar yourselves. This day is given for a day of Kippur, but before Hashem, it doesn't say tashuvu, course, we have to do tshuva, but it says the emphasis is titharu. Be matar yourselves. And how? How are we matar ourselves? So what is this essence of vidui? The essence of vidui is to show how, like the Rambam says, how ashamed we are that we did the Averas, how devastated are we did this Avera, how we wanted to remove it from ourselves, to distance ourselves, not to have any connection with this Avera. A person could be chayzer b'tshuva and not do this Avera, not do a particular Avera anymore. He may want to do the Avera, he may really want to do it, a desire to do it, and have all the desire to do it, but he's afraid of punishment, so he's not going to do it. What we say over here is, no, we're devastated, we're ashamed, we're disgraced that we did this Avera. We want no part of it, we want no attachment to this Avera. We want to remove it from our souls. And therefore we say it over and over and over again, to cleanse it, like scrubbing the surface, or scrubbing the depths of it, to be matayr something, to be kasher something. When we kasher a keli, we have to purge it from anything that's not only on the surface, of course, has to be cleaned away, but anything that's even absorbed, that's balua, everything that's even penetrated deep inside, we have to remove any trace of this. When we kasher something, we have to kasher ourselves, we have to taro, to be matar ourselves, remove any trace of the avera. Like the Kiryat Sefer says, that vidui is the gemar of tshuva. It's the conclusion of it, the climax of tshuva. Right? So it's l'moshel, like a person, l'moshel, engaging in a transaction. They can be a buyer and a seller, they make an agreement, but until they made a kinyan, a maisa kinyan, it's not binding. Here, this is the kinyan. This makes it binding. Yes, we express it. We express it with our mouths, not only think it in our minds, we express it and say it and over and over and over again, that we are disgraced from this aver, we're ashamed of this aver, and we're makabel on ourselves never to do it again. That's tahara, the process of Yom Kippur. Kineged, the kain gadol. We're matayr ourselves. The kain gadol, that was the epitome of tahara in the Beis HaMikdash and the Kodesh HaKadoshim with the big day lovan. And we too, on Yom Kippur, we wear big day lovan. We wear the kittel, we wear the big day lovan, white, purified, to signify what? We're malachim. We're malachim. How are we? We can't be hypocrites on Yom Kippur, the day of the emes, the day of din, in front of the Rabbeinu Shalom. But we want to be matayr ourselves. We want to purify ourselves. We want to make ourselves into malachim. It's not what we are, what we aspire to be. And through the process of vidui, tshuva, and vidui, we cleanse ourselves and we become bright, whiter and whiter, and more like malachim. And in fact, there are those tzaddikim, those great tzaddikim, that worked on their avoda so much, and they purified themselves, so they were so kodesh, so tohar, that they were daima to malachim. And that's our avoda on Yom Kippur. Years ago, I had an acquaintance. He was a survivor. He lived not far from Radin. And unfortunately, tragically, even though he grew up in a frum home, after the Holocaust, the war, etc., he became very verbittered, and he turned away. He turned away from Yiddishkeit and became anti-religion, anti-Yiddishkeit. He became Rahman al-San and Apikeres. Very tragic, very sad event. He was a smart person, a successful businessman, very wealthy, but a tragic life. And he was very anti-religion. There wasn't once an occasion that I happened to be speaking with him, and the name the Chofetz Chaim came up. And this person was a Soni Yisrael. Rahman al-Islam, tragic story, tragic life. It was a Soni Yisrael, a Soni Talmid Chacham. The name the Chofetz Chaim came up. His eyes lit up. The Chofetz Chaim. Oh, the Chofetz Chaim. The peasants, the Polish peasants, they would beg the Chofetz Chaim to please walk on their fields because this was a holy man. And if he would walk, they felt if he would walk on their fields would be blessed and they would have a good harvest. The Polish peasants, and Apikoris, Chavetz Chaim was a malach. He was an angel. Avoda, we are mere boss of Adam, but we have an ability to be mekadosh ourselves and to be matar ourselves. The Avoda on Yom Kippur is, of course, begging forgiveness from the Rebbeinu Shalom, asking for slich and mechila kapara, asking and begging the Rebbeinu Shalom to forgive us and not punish us, and to bless us and to bless Klal Yisrael. But the emphasis on the Avoda also is to be matar ourselves, to purify ourselves, to eradicate the Avera, to cleanse ourselves, to erase any trace of the Avera that comes from being devastated over it, being ashamed of what we did, taking upon ourselves not to do it again, wanting, desiring to be better people, to be elevated people, elevated neshamas. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bench all of us and Gans Klal Yisrael, that we should have this Hatzlacha. We should have the Broch of Hatzlacha and a good Gesund Yor and a gebenched Yor. And we should also be Zoicha Lifnei Hashem